Hey everyone, and welcome to the Daily Mix and Naked Beauty, where less is more. Today I'm here with the lovely Chanel. How are you?
Very scared, very anxious.
It'll be fine. So let's talk makeup.
I love the glam look, I love the fake look. To me, the bigger the better. More hair, more eyelashes, more lipstick.
So the idea of today, stripping it bare and going back to a neutral canvas using more colours that are readily available in the skin tone.
It's something I want to do. Like, I think it's about time I do realise that there is another look out there, so I'm ready for it.
And the one way I always think to stand out in the crowd is to do the complete opposite of what everyone else is doing. So for this one, we are just going to wipe it clean, as beautiful as you are, and we're just going to do a really simple, natural, neutral look and see how you like it. Let's see if it's frightening underneath all that.
I think I'm pretty much done now. This is my bare-faced beauty.
Okay, we're going to put a small amount of moisturiser onto the skin just to prime it ever so slightly, because we never want to use too much. And you have, your skin is so perfect, it's not fair. And I always apply it with a wedge, but that's mainly because I'm applying it to somebody else. So the next thing that we're going to do is just put a little bit of foundation on. Your skin is so good that we're just going to put a tiny coat on. And I like to use a brush, especially with good skin, because it goes on so well. I'm actually just going to put a tiny bit of corrector underneath the eye area now, because you're a tiny bit dark under the eyes. Yeah. Do you use correctors? Or
No,
have you ever used a corrector?
No.
When you get dark under the eyes, oftentimes, especially as we get deeper skin tones, we get blue under the eye or purple. And sometimes when we use normal concealers that are yellow based, can look very ashy under the skin. Yeah. So these sort of pinky sort of shades will brighten up under the eye. So I'm just going to apply a small amount under the eye and then I'll blend it with a sponge.
That is probably what I'm naturally most conscious of. Like, I do have dark circles underneath my eyes. I think that when you see like a bare face, I then see that. It's
so easy to correct. It doesn't, you know, it's certainly not the first thing that you're going to notice when you look at you, believe me. So the next thing I'm going to do is put a tiny bit of powder on. There's two ways of doing it. You can use a brush, and you have really great skin, so brushes are good. But if you've got any redness or any areas that need coverage, what can happen when you use a powder brush is you put the foundation on, you then put the powder on, and you then knock the foundation off, therefore exposing all that redness again, which is where the puff comes in, because this, with the powder on it, will lock it into place, and you use it like you're giving a fingerprint. So I'm only going to use a small amount of powder, and I'm just sort of getting it on the brush and then just knocking off any, because I don't want to cover up what doesn't need to be covered up, but at the same time, I want to take down any excess shine on the face, because it's much better to add it than it is to, you know, be worrying about the fact that your face is like a beacon all day long. So I'm just going to set the concealer now. And I'm going to set the concealer with a sponge, because we want to go as close to that lash line as we can. And also because when we do foundation and stuff, even now, the fact that you have no wrinkles, concealer creases. So you're going to look up and then pull the makeup face, which is, and all that does is stretches under the eye so that I can go right the way in and just set under here with powder. That is a very attractive face. Okay, next is bronzer. I will start from the neck and work up, because your face is a tad darker than the rest. So we're going to even that out so that you look like you belong to the same person. I'm just going to take a little bit and then just knock off all of that nonsense.
You're not going to be fitting anything on.
You just... I'm going to go from the temple area, because I just like it where the sun would. I know everybody says it, but I like it where the sun would hit the face. And when you've got bone structure like you have, where you can see the cheekbone really defined, it kind of makes sense to go from here, then you're hugging that cheekbone, and then you're going on the jawline. So you've naturally got a little bit of light in here, meaning your cheekbones look even more ridiculous than they do now. So I'm going to use a tiny bit of highlighter, and the reason being is because oftentimes blushes, almost all blushes now, tend to have shimmer in. And people then tend to highlight their cheekbones anyway. So you've then got a shimmery blush and a shimmery highlighter, and you're looking like a disco ball. So I prefer a matte blush and a highlighter, because then I can adjust it, because it's easier to put shimmer on the face than it is to kind of take it away. And I'm going to go just on the cheekbone area. And what this does is it just imparts tiny, tiny amounts of micro shimmer. Whatever is left on the brush, which really shouldn't be anything now, I'm just going to dust a tiny, tiny spot on the chin, on the bridge of the nose, and on the forehead. Blush time. So I go into the product, I then knock it all off because, you know, easier to build up colour than it is to be thinking, oh my God. So I apply it on the cheekbone area. I like the fact that when you apply it high on the cheekbone, you are automatically lifting the face up. Whereas when you apply it on the apple of the cheek, like if you were to smile and you apply it right here, when you stop smiling, the blush becomes lower down to the lips, and that naturally makes us look older. So the higher we can keep the blush, the more youthful the face, the higher the cheekbones, and everything goes up. And then I do the old school, I just take whatever is left, which is nearly nothing because you know I'm knocking it off, and I apply a tiny bit just to the temples, once or twice across the bridge of the nose, and then once to the chin. It just looks pretty. And that's, you know, pretty is nice. So I'm going to fill in the brows just a tiny bit because the brows frame the eye and it just gives a little bit more structure.
So is that an eyeshadow?
Yeah, these are just plain MAC eyeshadows. Because we are doing a makeunder, I don't want them to be really, really groomed unless they have to be. And there isn't a lot of filling in to do anyway. So next, I'm going to put a neutral shade of eyeshadow all over the eyelid. This contains a small amount of shimmer. And I'm going to be taking a combination of these two shades here. And I'm just sweeping a really light coat all over the actual mobile part of the eyelid. Because you can see the shape of the eye so well, make sure that you go in and just come out slightly. And the reason that we picked this shade as well, do you remember we used the bronze shade around the outer perimeter of the face? Now we're using a bronze sort of eyeshadow. What we can do is we take it from the eye and then we just sort of bleed it out so that it very, very lightly greets that bronzer ever so slightly. So next is eyeliner. I'm going to take a slightly angled soft eyeliner brush. I'm going to be taking it into a deeper eyeshadow. I'm going to be taking this shade here and just lining the lashes. Okay, next is lips. What we're going to do, line the lips, and we'll probably do a take on an ombre lip, which means we'll line the lips, but we'll keep the inner center slightly lighter than the rest of the lip, and then we'll go over just with a lip gloss. Just going to start from the upper part of the lip. We want to go exactly with the shape of the lip. If you have a look, just this center part now is lighter than the rest. Next is lip gloss. And this just adds a little bit of a beigey gold to the lip. But it's more pigmented than a lot of nude lipsticks. Okay, next is mascara. So going to take one, and I'm using a disposable wand that looks like a medieval torture ball. And these are really cool. So all these little tiny spikes pick up all the hair.
I feel nervous now.
Because it's completely different, I think, from your everyday, because nothing is covered up.
Am I now a natural beauty?
You are, and you always were. You really were. And I'm just finishing off with just a tiny bit more blush. Okay, that's it, complete. I'm going to take a photograph of you, then tweet it, see what my followers think, whether they prefer the more natural look or the slightly more dramatic look. Okay, so that was another example of how less can be more. And if you would like to join us here, then email us at contact@dailymix.tv.